Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about ground poles in front of a jump. You may know that ground poles make a jump easier to jump, and this is because it allows the horse to sight up the jump better than when there's no ground rail. So here we've got a vertical, and on the vertical the ground rail is right underneath it. This is more difficult for the horse to sight up as it's directly underneath the jump. If I had the pole underneath it, it could become dangerous because it becomes a false ground line and it'll make the horse think it's further away from the jump than what it is, and then end up taking too close. With the ground rail underneath is a normal standard in a competition, so quite often we practice jumps at a medium height with the pole underneath. But for schooling purposes, and the purpose for today is to talk about having a ground rail in front. With a ground rail in front, makes the jump feel closer than what it is, so the horse will be taking off a little bit further away, and because he thinks the pole jump is closer, the horse will jump upwards more quickly. The other advantage with a ground rail out in front, as a horse that has not got the best front leg technique,
in the Strides exercise series, there is a page dedicated to ground rail use in the grid section. I outline the advantages of using ground rails, including the best time and place, and when the best times not to use them.
When I set a jump with a ground rail in front, I prefer to have the top poles near the top, so the horse can actually sight them and see the top of the jump and look at it properly. And then have the ground rail out in front, so then it uses the ground rail on the ground to judge its takeoff distance. If I have the middle pole down lower, it doesn't become quite as good a sight for the horse. On a fence, when there's no middle pole, you can set the ground rail either directly underneath or out in front. Normally, in this case, we have an oxer. You normally, for most cases, have the ground rail only about 15 centimetres or 16 or 6 inches out in front of the jump and no more. But in the case of the horse I'll be riding and demonstrating later on in this video, the horse is fairly slow with his front legs and I'm trying to encourage him to pick his knees up quicker. I have the ground rail about 1 foot or 30 centimetres out in front of the jump, and this should encourage my horse to snap his knees up quicker when I put him in a slightly deeper spot than what I'm normally comfortable with him. When you school over a vertical and not have a ground rail, I recommend having the bottom pole as low as possible, and then the top pole at the height you're jumping. In the middle, in this case, we've got empty space, but you can put a filler or as many poles as you like. The concept here is the horse looks at the top pole and then uses the bottom pole as a judge for the takeoff position. This is a great way to practice competition fences, as you don't tend to have ground rails in the competition ring. Here we have a vertical with 2 poles, where the second pole is well above the ground. This is a far more difficult jump for your horse to judge. The bottom pole gives it a little opportunity to judge its actual distance for takeoff. This is a far more advanced way of setting up a jump, and I only recommend it in 2 scenarios. Either you're an experienced rider trainer and know exactly what you're doing, or you're jumping a jump that's well below what your horse normally jumps. The horse I'm about to jump has competed up to 120 in the ring, 1 metre 20, so this jump I'm okay for schooling him with a jump like this. But if I put the jump up higher, I'll either make it easier by lowering the bottom pole, and this makes a huge difference in its difficulty, or I put the bottom pole on the ground. Okay, I've just warmed up. Must do at least 10 minutes to 15 minutes on the flat warming up before you even start contemplating jumping. Then once you started jumping, you should always start with small jumps and build your way up to the bigger jumps.
Who are you riding, Edward?
Yeah, the horse I'm on is Pogo, or Weeti Pogo. He's a 7-year-old, station bred with quite a bit of mixture of warm blood and old school New Zealand warm blood. He's got an immense amount of scope, but his probably his weakness is his foreleg technique. So I do work hard on trying to teach him to quicken up his knees. That's where we're doing quite a few grids, and then a lot of the jumps, as I've shown at the beginning of this video, having lots of ground lines. So here we go, he's all fully warmed up, he's jumped a few small jumps and ready to jump the grid.
By having ground rails out the front allows me to ride through the grid with a soft hand. I want to let Pogo jump by himself so he can learn from any mistakes he might make.
The first time he went down the grid, he jumped it well, but he sort of jumped a little up and down and tapped the back rail of the oxer. The second time I rode him with a little bit more leg, probably got him jumping a little flatter than I would like, but he did clear the back rail. Okay, I was just off the horse for a moment to put some jumps up and increase the ground rail. That's the idea, is just to help him sight the jump better. I'm about to jump the grid, but because he's had a few minutes to rest, what's very important is I jump a small jump first before I take him down the grid.
For the horse that does not have the best natural technique, one of the hardest things to do is to ride down to a fence with a softer hand. You will see in my first attempt down this line, I held too much and it resulted in a hollow knee hanging jump. My second attempt I rode with a softer hand and got a much better result from it.
One thing that's really important is when you do a satisfactory jump that you're pleased with, the horse has got to know that that's what you want and you're happy with them. But more importantly, don't keep jumping them when they jump well. Finish the day, you're better off to jump another day with a fresher horse. In this case, he tapped a couple of jumps, but I felt he actually learnt. You'll see how the ground rails allowed me to just ride to a normal distance to the red jump rather than trying to always give him a longer distance or a longer spot. So the ground rails allow me to ride more normally. Good boy, Pogo. Now's the time to warm down as always and take him for a walk. Bye for now. Yep. Right.
To see more exercises, please visit the exercise page on the Strides website. For a small fee, you will have full access to a range of exercises from pole work, grids, continuous exercises and more. There are sections for solving common problems that many riders have with their horses, or you can search your objectives, or you may scroll through the index of exercises. To see more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button now. If you have any questions or something you want me to demonstrate, please state in the comments section below. Thank you and bye for now.